how a 300-year-old composer shaped rock music. You know that feeling when you hear a song and think, wait, I've heard this melody before? Well, if you're a rock fan, there's a good chance you've been listening to Johann Sebastian Bach without even knowing it. It might sound crazy, but this German composer who died in 1750, way before electricity, let alone electric guitars, has had a massive impact on rock music. We're not just talking about musicians randomly borrowing a tune here and there. Rock legends have been diving deep into Bach's playbook, stealing his secrets about how to build killer melodies, create tension, and keep listeners hooked. When Deep Purple made Bach rock out. Let's start with the most obvious example. John Lord from Deep Purple. This guy basically took Bach's most famous organ piece, the dramatic, spine-tingling toccata and fugue in D minor, and cranked it up to 11 on a Hammond organ. Picture this. It's the 1970s. You're at a Deep Purple concert, and suddenly Lord starts playing what sounds like church music. But wait, it's not boring church music. It's Bach filtered through a rock god's sensibilities, with all the drama and power turned up to maximum. The Hammond organ's growling, the Leslie speakers are spinning, and somehow this 300-year-old piece sounds like it was written for a rock arena. Lord didn't just play Bach's notes, he understood what made the music work. Bach wrote those dramatic pauses, those cascading runs, those moments that make you hold your breath. Lord kept all of that, but gave it the attitude and power of rock music. It was like Bach had been waiting centuries for someone to properly electrify his music. The crazy part? It worked. Rock audiences ate it up. Turns out if you play classical music with enough conviction and volume, people don't care that it's fancy. They just hear great music. Eddie Van Halen's classical secret. Now here's where it gets interesting. Eddie Van Halen's Eruption, that mind-blowing guitar showcase that changed everything in 1978, has Bach's fingerprints all over it, even though it doesn't sound anything like classical music. Eddie grew up playing classical piano, and he was obsessed with Bach. When he picked up the guitar, he brought all those classical ideas with him. That famous tapping section that blew everyone's minds is basically Eddie's way of playing multiple melody lines at once, just like Bach did on keyboards. Bach had this problem. He wanted to play several melodies simultaneously, but human hands only have so many fingers, so he got creative with his technique. Eddie had the same problem on guitar. How do you play complex, layered music on an instrument that usually plays one note at a time? His solution was revolutionary. Use both hands on the fretboard. Eruption follows the same blueprint as Bach's dramatic pieces. It starts simple, then builds and builds, introducing new ideas and techniques until it reaches this explosive climax. It's the same formula Bach used in his toccatas, just with more distortion and leather pants. Even the Beatles got in on the action. Blackbird isn't just Paul McCartney showing off his finger-picking skills. It's his take on Bach's Bourrée in E minor. Paul basically took this elegant Baroque lute piece and reimagined it for acoustic guitar. The genius of Blackbird is how naturally classical and contemporary elements blend together. Bach wrote his Bourrée as a dance piece. It's got this forward momentum and rhythmic energy that translates perfectly to a folk rock setting. Paul kept Bach's intricate fingerwork and polyphonic thinking, playing multiple melodies at once, but made it serve a song about freedom and hope. What's beautiful is how the classical foundation actually enhances the song's message. Bach's music has this sense of mathematical perfection and emotional directness that gives Blackbird extra depth. The song works on multiple levels, as a simple folk tune, as a showcase for guitar technique, and as a classical composition disguised as a pop song. You know that feeling when music feels like it's echoing straight out of another time, another soul? That's what happened with Bach's air on the G string and how it flowed, almost invisibly, into Procol Harum's A Whiter Shade of Pale. Bach's melody has this weightless, aching quality, like it's suspended in midair, never rushing, never demanding, just carrying you quietly through its sadness and grace. And when Procol Harum took that feeling and wove it into rock, it was like they were reaching across centuries, taking Bach's melancholy beauty and turning it into something hauntingly modern. You can hear it in the organ line, that slow, solemn descent that feels both sacred and fragile, as if time itself is sighing. It's not a copy of Bach, not at all. It's more like a memory of him, translated into the language of the 1960s, when people were looking for meaning, for something beyond the surface. The song became this anthem of mystery and longing, and it wouldn't have carried that same depth without Bach's ghost hovering in the background. What's so powerful is that you can actually feel the continuity of human emotion. Bach, writing in a world of powdered wigs and candlelight, and then centuries later, a rock band channeling that same sadness, that same beauty, through electric organ and poetry. It's like two voices, one old, one new, speaking the same truth. That there's a kind of aching beauty in being alive, and music is the only way to say it. Led Zeppelin's heavy classical. Jimmy Page took the same Bach piece that inspired Blackbird and did something completely different with it. In Heartbreaker, you can hear Bach's bourrée filtered through blues rock aggression. Page took Bach's melodic ideas and rhythmic patterns and cranked them through Marshall stacks. This shows how versatile Bach's music really is. The same Baroque composition that gave us the delicate beauty of Blackbird also contributed to one of hard rock's most famous riffs. Bach's music has this underlying strength and mathematical logic that works whether you're playing it on a lute in a royal court or through a wall of amplifiers in an arena. Why this actually matters. So why should you care that rock musicians have been borrowing from a composer who wore powdered wigs? Because it shows that great music is great music, regardless of when it was written or what instruments it was written for. Bach understood something fundamental about how music works, how to create tension and release, how to build melodies that stick in your head, how to make mathematical precision feel emotionally powerful. These aren't classical techniques, they're just good music techniques. When rock musicians discovered Bach, they weren't trying to be fancy or show off their classical education. They found a composer who understood drama, virtuosity, and emotional impact. Bach might have been writing for church organs and royal courts, but his music has the same energy and intensity that rock musicians were trying to create. The best part? This cross-pollination made both kinds of music better. Rock gained sophistication and structural depth, while classical music found new audiences who might never have set foot in a concert hall. Today's musicians are still mining Bach's music for ideas. As long as people want to create music that's both technically impressive and emotionally powerful, they'll keep finding inspiration in the work of a German composer who figured out the secrets of great music 3 centuries ago. Who knows? The next time you hear a song that gives you chills, you might be experiencing the power of Bach's music, filtered through centuries of musical evolution, but still working its magic on modern ears.